understanding what's happening in you unconsciously as you go out and do your life every single day. Why do you drive the car that you drive? Why do you live in the house that you live in? Why do you give your money to a financial advisor? Understanding all of these pieces to say, hey, first step is self-realization.
Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we show you how to create passive income so that you have options for how to work and how to live your life while leaving a legacy of positive social impact.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Money with Mission. Today I have Brett Riggins. Full transparency, I was on Brett's podcast not too long ago, Real Estate Mogul. I got that right, Brett?
Real Estate Mogul MD.
Real Estate Mogul MD. Brett does a lot of things to help physicians, public in general, but he's got a special place in his heart for physicians to help us get to real estate investing and not have to pull us away from our medical careers if that's what we want. We're going to get into a bunch of stuff here, so have some fun. Hey, Brett, thanks for coming on.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Me too. So I kind of start out with a little bit, what I think is a little bit different question, but you can take it how you want. We all came into this world in a certain way, and we all have a money story before we became the people we are today. Mm-hmm. How did you evolve, or what was your money story before you became Brett Riggins, Real Estate Mogul MD?
Boy, had nothing. I come from a long line of, kind of check to check, if that kind of scenario in my family and my background. I think the thing that's drawn me close to construction and real estate is my parents built their first house. I was about the age of right around 7 years old. And it's fascinating to look back through it. It was basically all the wrong moves. They did a lot of the stuff themselves. It was a variable rate loan, not having the understanding of reading the documents and knowing what to do. And it was just snowballed into a project that never finished and a house that they had to sell on short sale, losing the whole property. So I think the two of those things looking back, I grew up on a construction project because the house was never finished. We were always working on it. So that was something that I think it kind of laid a deep foundation in me for a couple of things. And some of those I don't even know, but construction and real estate were right there. After that moment, Felicia, we moved so many times. It was like renting and moving and renting. And it was just, my parents did, an absolutely wonderful job keeping us in the same school district. But my younger brother actually went to quite a few different school districts because he kind of got the tail of it there. But yeah, just that was the base,
So, but how do you think you thought about money then?
I didn't know. I think coming from that path, we don't know, you go to work and you get paid. That's your paycheck, right? And there's no, perspective, long-term perspective, delayed gratification piece. Mm-hmm. And it was always time for money. And there was no connection. I remember even my first little tiptoes when I told my family, I was like, I'm going to get some rentals. And it was like the feedback, why would you do that? Right?
How old were you?
My first rental I bought in 2007. And even in that time, Felicia, I was self-employed. I was a contractor. So there wasn't really that solid piece of income coming in. And I know a lot of physicians get the same thing too. When you say, oh, I'm going to buy a house. Well, you're still in residency. Why would you do that? Right? Or I'm going to buy real estate. Why would you do that? And it's typically we're hearing that no from people who aren't even doing it or aren't even doing what we would want to do in the first place.
And have no idea. I got the same thing from my dad. Connect the dots for us on how you went from, I think you were construction or from your parents' home to I'm going to buy rentals. That seems like a big jump to me from the way your parents brought you up, what you lived in, that environment.
Yeah, it's a great question. Kind of the carpentry piece in me, that contractor piece, seeing something that needs a fix. That was kind of like that draw. The first time this was 2007. So this is right at the peak. I had an opportunity, we call it there. I love doing the air quotes on podcasts. I had an opportunity to acquire a foreclosed property. Mm-hmm. And this was the worst of the worst scenarios. I had nobody around me that was doing this. That was really before YouTube and, the speed of data was much slower then.
Mhm.
I had no pieces of the power team. I've never seen any of these deals go full cycle, but I had an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that entrepreneurial perspective of mine, or that bug that I have, was I saw an opportunity, because even though I didn't know the math, I didn't know the process, I felt there was something there.
Mhm.
And that first property that I acquired in '07, it was everything that could have ever went wrong. And that was the first piece. And it was kind of like everybody around you is going to be right until they're wrong. And on this particular one, they were right for years. Like I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be I'm going to clean this out and then I'm going to sell it. But it didn't work like that. By the time that I got it cleaned out, I had lost my partners in the deal because they
Mhm.
didn't want to deal with it. I was the only one with skin in the game. And then everybody knows what happened in '07 and '08, but everything, just the bottom fell out. It was so bad. There's no longer a school in this city that I bought the house in.
Oh,
It was,
okay.
yeah, it was just horrendous.
So you air quoted opportunity. At the time, it was an opportunity. This is how I'm going to get into real estate. This is how I'm going to do this. Did you think about passive income? Did you think about making money on it? We all
No,
come into it differently, but how did it come for you? What was the reason for it?
it was a kill and eat. I think that's a transition that a lot of people will make, especially from my financial intelligence was extremely low. I think I had this palate that I learned fast.
Yeah.
I still learn very quickly. And that idea of, okay, I'm going to buy this and then I can sell it for that. I didn't have the clue of what the process was,
The
like
in
I said, or
between.
the
Yeah.
paperwork.
Yeah.
But when '07
Mhm.
happened, '08 happened, I now had a problem. I had invested in this. And again, those so many people around me saying, just walk away, just leave it, walk away. And that's at that point, I became everybody's term of the accidental landlord. It's like, that's my only option. I was not going to walk away from this property. I
Mhm.
had absolutely no money to put into it. I'm learning the escrow, when escrow analysis come up, and all of a sudden Chase Bank has doubled my mortgage payment. And here I am, self-employed, basically paying. This is what I've got, Felicia. I've got a property that I couldn't sell. I'm barely scraping. I'm talking like I'm making maybe 15, 20 grand a year, right? And
Okay.
now I've got this property that I'm collecting rent for, rock bottom rent, not unfiltered tenants, and my mortgage payment doubles. So I'm literally paying $200-300 a month for somebody else to live in my house. Talk about that as real estate investing.
And he still looks as an opportunity, guys. Okay. He
Yes,
still calls it an opportunity, which
absolutely.
is what an entrepreneur will always do.
Yeah,
Every mistake is an opportunity to learn, every single one of them.
absolutely.
So you came out of that, you're still alive, which is
Yes.
always the magic of a thing. It's like, well, I survived that. I can freaking do anything.
Yep.
I'm ready to go now.
So we held on to that actually had it for a couple years. And this is kind of like laying the foundation of asset management, property management for me, because I was sweat equity everything. I was running, I didn't even know how to filter tenants then, but
Yeah.
I was selecting tenants. I was marketing. I was chasing rent. I was
Mhm.
fixing toilets, everything that you've heard of.
Mhm.
And then at the end of that, I had met my wife. At that time we were engaged. We got the final tenants out. I mean, it was horrendous. I feel like it was just, I mean, I could
You
go into
guys, if you guys can't see Brett's face, he's reliving this whole thing.
stories. One time we went in, so that last tenant that was in there, I was at this time with a design build firm. So I was using products off of rehabs or bad orders. I was putting them in this property. So I started replacing the windows while that last tenant was there. The one time we went in, Felicia, we had our dog with us, and the dog got fleas from being there. Like, this is one of those things. And my wife, when we're engaged, and my wife is here in the house, she's probably listening to it at some point. And sometimes she wants to jump into these conversations. So here's the true test. If you want to test your marriage, renovate a house, right? If you want to test your marriage, get into business together. So here we are engaged. I've got this dog of a property that's just draining, and it's time to really make the turn. So we got that last tenant out of there. We renovated. I always over renovate. I still have a tendency to do that. So she was helping me. She's a conservative approach to our package
Okay,
here. We
right.
got it renovated. I did all the wrong things. I took out walls. I put the old farm trim package. Like, it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I replaced
Yeah.
the wood floor, and It was gorgeous. And we ended up selling this thing, Felicia, for I think around 57 grand or something. And I originally bought it for, I think, 37.
Okay.
And all the materials, I didn't pay, maybe I had a couple thousand in material. Like I used cabinets and this kind of stuff. It was a gorgeous turn, but it was so much sweat equity. At that time, I was working probably 60 to 70 hours in this design build firm that I was with.
Yeah.
And then I would drive an hour and a half to this property because it's back where my parents live,
Okay.
work Saturday, Sunday, and then drive the hour and a half back. So
Okay.
it was mind blowing.
Everybody needs to hear that. Okay. Because a lot of people probably heard I paid 37 for it and I
Oh,
got
yeah.
57 out. Oh, you made $20,000. Great deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did a podcast one time and it was actually called Wholesale Inc. And it's a pretty good podcast. There's 3 great hosts on there that really big in what they do. And the one podcast I was on, we talked about this deal. It was a land deal. We had a development piece. So we bought some bare ground, some vacant land. And it took 2 years going through the process. We were just about to break ground on a new construction site condos. And
Okay.
these were high end, like cutting edge kind of stuff. And we actually sold the property right before we broke ground. That 2 years of my life was the most stressful time of my life. This is high dollar, big ticket stuff. I didn't know anything about it. And the way that we want to advertise that piece is, well, I bought it for like 370 and I sold it for 900,000. And that's what everybody wants to advertise. But just
Yeah.
like you were saying, it wasn't worth it for me at that point because there was the stress and everything that went into it in the 2 years of it. But when you look at that at paper, hey, it looks like
It
this
looks
kid
great.
just
Looks
made
like it did a great deal.
$530,000.
Yep. I think many of us, especially physicians that I talk to, they want to own their own property and they want to manage it. They want to do all that. They neglect that, how much of your time it takes. Well, we're going to make this much money on it. When I talk about put a value on your time, and let's say you're going to spend 3 hours a week dealing with that. So how much money are you really making when you look at it that way? And
Yeah.
so I think that's one big thing people don't think about when they're looking at buying and managing their own properties is their time in it.
Yeah.
So it's really important to look at every piece of it because if something happened to you and you couldn't manage it yourself, you got to hire somebody so that if you're counting on this income, you just wiped it out by having to hire somebody. So
You have
all
to
the
have
numbers
that.
make sense.
You have to have that in the equation. You have to take the emotion out of it. The other thing that it would layer in on this, Felicia, too, is if you've heard people talk about multitasking, really, it's our brains are really inefficient when it comes to that. We need focus. We need to do one thing, which is a great book, by the way. That one thing that we're doing because every transition takes time. So
Yep.
I want to layer this in there for the do-it-yourselfers because I fought that battle. I was in
Me
there,
too.
the do-it-yourselfers.
Yeah.
And I've stepped away from it, but just think you're interjecting yourself into a whole different level of personalities, people, situation doing this. And it's not just the 3 hours a week, but where are you taking yourself in that process too? Who
Yeah.
are you dealing with? What are you doing? And you can't just flip the switch and come back. So even if it's 3 hours, I've got hour on each end of that thing just dealing with it.
Figuring
you
it
know?
out. Yes. And you're switching. And the book you mentioned, go back, The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Yes.
That's the book. So just
Yeah.
because people probably heard that real fast, go, what book is he talking about?
Yeah.
The One Thing by Gary Keller. I love that book too. That talks about what one thing can you do that makes everything else you have to do either unnecessary or much simpler to do.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to come up with, but once you do, you've got your thing.
Yeah. Fixating
So-
and staying focused on that 4-hour time block,
Yeah.
it's imperative.
You've got a 4-hour time block. I can't focus for 4 hours. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm struggling for 90 minutes right now. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
It's
Oh my-
tough. That might have a little bit to do with the rest of the day, what happened before, but it's not easy every time. It's just like the deals that sound great from the other time. I'm going to do my best to focus on this and to carve out this time block. And sometimes, things in that book, you'll see everything gets off kilter, out of balance. And that happens
Yes.
in what you
Yeah.
do when you're focusing on that 4-hour time. But it doesn't always happen perfect. And just
Yeah.
like everything else, just like these deals, I feel like I'm talking about all the bad things about real estate. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, right? It's not
Yes.
always great.
I think
Yeah.
that's important too, though, because we often hear the great part about it, how you're going to have passive income, how you're going to have tax benefits, how you're going to have all these things. And docs are A personality type people and control kind of people. And we think we can do it ourselves and have our full-time work that we do as physicians. And we get hard-headed. I was hard-headed. I was doing it myself. And I'm just here to tell you, I would never recommend it ever.
And I will put myself on this same. So on my path in architectural engineering, construction management engineering, I heard along the way that engineers know everything.
Hmm.
And as soon as they put something on paper, there's no other answer. This works. So I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to get my real hands-on experience because I've also heard this called arrogant. So whether it's an engineer, a physician, an attorney, what that arrogance does is it puts blinders on us.
Yep. Yep. And that whole what you know and what you don't know, and that whole thing comes into the thing. Okay. So, Brett, your company, how did you start your company and why physicians? And just tell us what you're doing out there to help
Yeah.
build our portfolios.
Yeah, that's a great question. The first company that we started was actually Connect Home Buyers. It was maybe the second. The first one was Design Build. It was a design build, Connect Design Build. We had that, we were rolling that for a year. And a year into that, we launched into real estate. And real estate was Connect Home Buyers.
Okay.
And we were doing that for probably about 7 years. And then that's the company that you're asking me about is Physician Wealth Systems.
What was the Connect Home Buyers? Is that what it was? What was
Yeah,
that?
that's my main company. It's a nationwide real estate acquisition company.
Okay.
We started fixing and flipping. My wife and I, again, challenging the marriage. That's our company, right? And we were doing 6 flips at a time inside of that company. So that thing, we've learned so much from that and building our own portfolio through that process. And that's the foundation.
Okay.
Physician Wealth System plugs into this real estate company.
Okay. And why physicians? Why did you name your company about physicians? Why talk about that?
That's a great question too. At first, it was an opportunity piece. When I took off, I was sleeping on other people's couches. I was playing this guitar that's hanging in my wall back here. That's what I did. So that in construction, I had no money at all. Rolling into my first deals in real estate, I still didn't have any money, Felicia. So I was leveraging private money lenders. And
Okay.
in that process, it was really the nitrous oxide for the growth in our company. So the more capital that we had, the more deals that we could do, the more processes and systems that we could learn and put into place. On that journey, that's where we started meeting and working with physicians. A lot of our private lenders were physicians.
What's a private lender?
Yep.
Compare
PML,
that.
private lender. On the real estate investor, it's called OPM, other people's money.
Mm.
And what that does, instead of working with banks and hard money lenders, we use what's closest to us inside of our circle of reference, right? Our circle of influence, because a lot of people have money around you already. You just need a secure process to leverage that. So it's a win-win for both people.
Yep.
So what we did instead of working with banks and hard money is we would what I call flip the script. So as an investor, I've got this deal. I've got it well below market value. At this time now, I know the equations. I know the process. I have the contacts. So I can put this all on paper. Then we leverage a promissory note, a mortgage, or a deed of trust, depending on which state you're in. And then we have insurance. And the lender is an additional payee on the insurance. So that's the same thing that the bank is doing. We call it flip the script. Instead of the bank, us giving the bank money, we were giving our lenders money in turn for borrowing us the money to do these flips.
Hold on. Okay. So I'm going to back you up a little bit. I think you threw a lot of things out there that people might
Oh,
not
yeah.
get. Flip the switch. So instead of you having a bank, Bank of America, Bank of whatever out there being the other people's money, you're having people that physicians, lawyers, whoever, be the bank.
So
Step one.
flip the script. So like a movie script, we're going to flip the script. We're going to give the money. We're going to keep the money kind of.
The banks are people. Now, they're secured. In other words, they are not just like a bank is secured by a promissory note. So that's a debt. Is that correct? You're using debt for that, or you?
Yep. So it's a debt relationship. And the promissory note is the piece of paper that's going to say, I'm going to pay you. Now, I'm not an attorney. I am a licensed real estate agent. Can't give legal opinion or suggestions. But this particular scenario, a promissory note, in my perspective, is a piece of paper that says, I'm borrowing this much money from you, Felicia. And this is when I need to have it back by. If there's any payments, the interest rate, if there's any points, Any other little stipulations can go on, typically about 1 page, unless it's a bank, then it's probably 20 pages.
Yeah, exactly.
In the mortgage then, or deed of trust, is the document that gets recorded. Now, this is the piece that secures your interest in the property. I talked with you recently, and briefly a little before. I see this as a problem with people who jump in and don't know what they're doing. If that mortgage doesn't get recorded, it doesn't mean anything. When you record that mortgage, it gives you a lien place on that, basically on the deed, right? Or on the title of the property. So when somebody goes to sell it, nothing happens until the lender is made whole first. The first lien position, that's where you want to be. That's what the mortgage does. That's what the deed of trust will do.
Got it. So it has to be recorded. Just for those who don't know, where is it recorded? What does all that mean?
Yep. Typically, you want to do everything through title companies, and also depending on which state that you're in, titles and attorneys. But that's when the recording happens. And it's the deed, I can't remember the actual municipality name. Register of Deeds is the place. And you'll see it in the assessor's office. You see where they're pulling title, that kind of stuff. But the Register of Deeds is where the recordings happen.
So the question is this mortgage going to be recorded so that you, as the owner or the lender, is protected? Because if Brett or whoever you're loaning your money to runs off with your money, the property is yours.
You can
foreclose on that property.
Yep.
If it's not recorded,
yep,
nobody knows what's going on.
Absolutely. And then it's just a handshake. Basically, I still got to go to court. I've got a piece of paper, but you've got the promissory note, the mortgage, you need that thing recorded, and then the insurance as well too. Note stating you. So if something were to happen to that property, Felicia, you would still get paid. First.
Yes.
And the other thing you have to watch out to before you get too far away from that mortgage piece is, if that house is the collateral, you need to make sure that the taxes are paid and that there's insurance on that property at all times. Just because I've got an evidence of policy and I hand it to you by day of close doesn't mean that it's there every single time. So that needs to be made sure that the taxes are paid and that the insurance is current.
Okay. That's a lot to know and pay attention to. How do you help folks, physicians, acquire properties? How are you guys working and doing that?
Yeah. So from the Connect Home Buyers, trajectory, we started working with physicians in the lending scenario. And I was always asked, hey, how can we get in these deals? Where are you getting these deals? How can we get equity? Those kinds of things. I couldn't offer it at that time because that was my bread and butter. That's how I was feeding my family. And as time went on, we started building our own portfolio. I started seeing an opportunity where we could basically plug the physicians into our acquisition company and do what we're doing for ourselves and do it for them. The other part of that why physicians piece was that was relationships that we were building early on. And then as I think about it more, physicians, give so much to their passion, to their careers. They lose so much from their families. They give so much for us. And some of the greatest and worst times of my life have been with physicians. My mom always joked that I had my own room at the emergency room when I was growing up. But just some of the times in my life where I could think back, my children, health with my family, if I could do something to help give back in that way, it brings joy to me. It fills one of my buckets.
Yeah. Did you spend time talking to any docs where you just realized you guys are so dead tired? You got to have money coming from some other way besides just your time for dollars. Because this is my thing. It's like we spend so much time that you can't think. And if you had money coming from somewhere else, how much freedom does that give you to be able to think of other things and be able to even think better about the patients that you have, because you don't have to add 15 more just to cover your stuff, because that's the way medicine is these days.
So when we launched into, and if there's any entrepreneurs out there listening, when you launch in, you've got a new product, you've got a new offer, and you launch into the sales piece. One, if you don't know your avatar, you've got to figure your avatar out. Like, who's your target, right?
Who do you want to work with is what avatar is. Who do you want to work with? And I'm not a
physician, right? I'm not a physician. So how in the world am I supposed to know why physicians need to do this? But I tell you what, even the first 2-3 months of speaking directly with physicians, I learned a lot, right? And so many times, like watching my children argue or fuss about something, I can see so much from the outside.
Yeah.
And the same situation when I've learned so much about the lives of physicians and
Yeah.
just medicine in general, it was so easy for me to see from the outside and seeing, and I hear things
Interesting.
over and over again. I
Yeah.
hear certain things said. I see different types of personalities. There's just so much that I saw from the inside. That was the first 3 months. I have also, with the podcast, Real Estate Mogul MD, now I have a whole nother platform where I get to connect. And it's easier for people to see I'm here. I don't want anything from you. I want something for you. That was the biggest difference where it enabled me to get through and get past that trust wall so
Yeah.
then I could help.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important, that trust wall, getting in there. Okay. So let's say I'm a doc and I want to, I am a doc. Let's just
Yeah.
say it. I am a doc. And I know I want to do real estate. I know I want to invest off Wall Street, but like I'm full time, just what we're talking about. I don't have time to figure it out. I run across Real Estate Mogul MD. How can you help me start getting that stuff done? How does your process work?
Yeah, it's a great, great question. And the Real Estate Mogul MD, the podcast is a great place. Being able to speak with other physicians and other opportunities. I always direct everybody in the same spot. Everybody should start in the same spot. And that's the mindset piece.
Mhm.
From the outside looking in, that's the first hurdle that everybody has to overcome, but specifically the physicians, the mindset piece. And that's going to start allowing you to ask yourself the questions of where do I want to be? What do I want to do? Because the diversified passive streams of income is a necessity. It's not a luxury. And we need to understand that we need to have this perspective change. And remember, this is coming from the kid coming from nothing, still going back to my family, not having the things that I see around me now. There has to be a mindset change. And that direction is going to focus you in a path that's going to lead you to what those exit strategies may be, what those opportunities may be. Because the biggest thing, Felicia, they have to align with your values and they have to align with the time that you have now, the time that you want to be investing in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.
What do you mean my mindset changed? People who don't talk that language, I feel like I would be out there going, I don't understand what you're even talking about mindset. Can you give a little, I mean, you did say some things there, but I want specifically at what about Doc's mindset even, or anybody who's not investing in something off Wall Street, who's got the straight, typical
Yeah.
investing. What do you mean?
Yes. So stop trading time for money is the biggest piece of that. Understanding, valuing your time, valuing your emotions, valuing your family. That's a huge piece of that. Understanding what's happening in you unconsciously as you go out and do your life every single day. Why do you drive the car that you drive? Why do you live in the house that you live in? Why do you give your money to a financial advisor? Understanding all of these pieces to say, hey, first step is self-realization.
Yeah.
When I can start seeing where I'm at, then I can start seeing where I want to go and how do I get there? How we're even working your way back from there.
Yeah.
Felicia, that really brings me, I've read a lot of great books. I've actually written one. This one's called How to Get Rich as a Doctor.
Okay.
And this book, the very beginning of this book is all about mindset. It's all about mindset. It's a big game, a big shift, because now, not only inside of ourselves, but this idea, we talked about it, about getting over the idea that I know everything, about getting past the trust issues that we have with people, because it is very apparent from the outside in, and maybe it's not talked about across both lines. Doctors do not have financial educations. So it's from one side of the line, it's not necessarily everybody's out to get doctors' money, but there is a discussions about how and where and like the reasons that could be targeted. And then the other side of the line, knowing that kind of like on the shush side, we don't have financial education. So I've got to keep my money close.
Yep.
Right. And that comes back to some mindset issues that we have with self-limiting beliefs that we have. Money's hard to make. I got to keep it close to me. It's too good to be true.
And the way your book, we're going to have that in the show notes, you guys. Most of us think that the way we're going to get rich is to put all our money in our 401k and work until we can start taking out our 401k. And I can guarantee you that is not the way. That is, again, another mindset thing that we're talking about. it's what we're taught. So, and we don't get taught anything else. It's what the media says, it's what everybody says you're supposed to do. Get a great job, put money in a 401k. And if you keep it in there long enough, you'll have it to retire. There's examples all over the place where that doesn't work, where it does not work. And when I talk about it, it's like, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of life between starting work and retiring that you need money for that you're not having because you're putting it in your 401k and you're spending it on your house. You're doing all those things. And if something happens where you can't do your 9 to 5 or your 7 to 8 in the evening job, and you need to take time out, you can't. And that's my big thing about having income coming from somewhere else. Multiple streams of income is a necessity, not a luxury.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay.
Absolutely. And back kind of in that same perspective of this is what everybody else is telling me. This is what I grew up hearing, and especially, engineering, medicine, attorneys, like you go do this, especially coming from overseas. This is where you go do this, you go, and that's what you put your head down and you go. I mean, 401ks are great. If you want to max those out and because you're getting a match, that's great. But that's not the only bucket. That's not the only bucket at all. So we've got to step away from what everybody else is telling us to do. And even if you think about, why is somebody else telling me to do that? Right? As an employer, I know why I do 401ks, right? Yeah. I know exactly why I would do that. I know the share reasons. I know so many things around that to help keep hold and compress people, basically.
Yeah. And why does the government want you to do that? And why there's so many whys that we have to think about. This is the financial education part. Financial education and the mindset part are 100% agree. I don't always say that out loud because people think they just want to start investing. It's like, okay. And then we work on mindset kind of secretly without people really realizing, oh, you're working on my mindset.
Yeah. That 7 why thing is huge. And I mean, we haven't even, we started off by how can physician wealth systems help people? And the biggest thing out front, and we haven't even got past that mindset piece is really, it means so much because
it's huge.
Why would I be working so hard? Why would I help you do something you don't even really want to do? You haven't even taken the time to figure out what it is that you want to do. If you haven't kept asking, you haven't, keep asking yourself, why? It's not passive income. What are you going to do with that income? Why? One more time. Well, it's not time. What are you going to do with that time? Right. So working your way back down to the reality of it, where's the gold in this piece? I set off like really nice things. I like really nice things. And then costly, my wife always looks at me like, what are you doing? Why would you want something like that? I am a fan of flying first class. I've never flown private yet, but that private thing is on my list. I'm sitting here looking at jets on my screens right now.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm content. I'm not complacent. I'm content with where I'm at. And that to me of like, now I don't have to build this machine that's going to kill me as a high performance person, as a physician practicing medicine, especially in partner scenarios, corporate medicine. I mean, I can go on for hours and hours and hours about all this stuff you're creating scenarios that are going to eat you. Without your health, you have no wealth, and you're driving. Why? If you don't understand why, then you're going in the wrong direction. And for me, I can still get to that jet without having to go at this way that I thought I had to go to it, because that's what everybody else is saying.
Mm-hmm. That's really good stuff. Good stuff. How do people get in touch with you? Because I can't imagine that somebody doesn't want to hear more. First of all, you got the book. Say the book. Let's say the book one more time.
So How to Get Rich as a Doctor. You can find it on Amazon. I have not done the Audible yet. This is the first book I've ever written. It's kind of journey in itself.
100% is a journey. Yes.
Yeah. So we got that there. I'm going to do a revised edition, and then I'm going to record the Audible. But you can get it on Amazon, all the special places where you can buy books.
Okay.
So that's really cool. And that was kind of like leading us into the physician wealth systems.
Yes.
So inside of physician wealth systems, it's very, very niche. I only work with a few clients. We do 12 properties in 12 months. And the biggest thing about this, Felicia, is it's a turnkey real estate investment business. And it's not a turnkey investment, because you get a turnkey investment. Guess what? You're still going to be a turnkey landlord. You're still going to be working. You're still going to be buying yourself another job.
Yeah.
What I'm focused on, what my team is focused on, is creating that business piece. And if you've ever read Cash Flow Quadrant by Kiyosaki, you understand the difference of being a business owner versus self-employed and all of these different things.
I want to make sure people are clear. He's talking about helping you build a real estate business. He's already got his own. He's helping you build your own real estate business. 12 properties, 12 months. I think that's what you said.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And this gets you, if you want to control it, in other words, own your own properties, not invest in syndications, not invest in whatever else, that you don't have everything in control. This would be a way to do it, but you're not responsible. I mean, you're responsible, but you're not responsible. You're not hiring crews to go and do the renovations. You're not vetting tenants. You're not fixing the toilet and getting the call when the lights, whatever happens. Correct. Am I right there? Just want to make sure I'm getting it correct. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So we find the properties, we put them in contract, the acquisition company does. The properties go to the physicians, they're assigned to the physicians, and then we renovate, we market, we get it stabilized, we connect you with the lenders, because money is always difficult, but finding the lenders with the specific products that we're looking for is key. The physicians take 100% equity, and there is no such thing as passive income. I know we always say this, passive income, passive income. What we're trying to do is make this as passive as active investing could be. And when we set up the systems, I want you to be the business owner. I don't want you to be an employee.
Mhm.
I want the portfolio to be stabilized with systems, even VAs, to set you up so you do not have to worry about this. You also will be encouraged to always worry about your money, because nobody's going to care more about your money than you.
I love that. 100, because I'll go back to the 401ks. To me, having your 401k is putting your money in a suitcase or envelope and hand it to somebody whose face you do not know and expecting them to care about it. So
Now I just handed it
that's
to him,
exact-
Felicia, but there's this weird thing, like, since they're a financial planner and they've gotten a certificate, now say, like, you're a physician, how many years did you spend in school and in residency? When I come to you, I'm expecting you have that authority right away. These planners get the same kind of authority when you give them thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Every financial planner is not bad, but also every financial planner's not for you, is not good, you know?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We talked about the book. We talked about the program. Name the program again.
Physician Wealth Systems.
Physician Wealth Systems.
Yeah.
And is there a website, or how can people, if somebody's interested and wants to learn more, where do they go to learn more?
Physician Wealth Systems is the home base.
Okay.
And it's just, you can Google search that. It will pop up across Instagram, Facebook, all of that stuff. But also, Felicia, there's something that happens in this process too. And I mentioned, before that the idea of, I don't want anything from you. I want something for you. And kind of that mindset shift. If anybody's ever heard of Zig Ziglar, another Carolina boy, I'm down here in the Carolinas, he's always fun to listen to. Stop selling and start helping. A byproduct of the physician wealth systems, this is a high level, high ticket consulting kind of thing, but it produces opportunity for everybody else, because we've put together something called real estate residency that allows us to share that information. Hey, what are you talking about, Brett, about this values and time, right? How do I know which direction I want to go? I mean, if it is single family, how do I evaluate a property? Where do I find properties? And how do I know if this is for me or not? So this all comes through this platform, Real Estate Residency. It's completely free. If you go to physicianwealthsystems.com, you'll see it. It's right there on that page. Okay. You can click it. No credit cards needed. I'm the developer behind the thing. So if you find somebody found a spot where they could put in a credit card and paid me, don't do that. It's free. Don't try to make it so hard. But if you have any interest in single family, check that out. And even if it's not single family, come to the Physician Wealth Systems. There's another resource page there, Felicia, that we've got. I'm meeting so many cool people and so many physicians that are building these networks, and whether it's starting your own practice, become an entrepreneur, syndications. There's a resource page on physicianwealthsystems.com I'm sharing all of this stuff.
I think even if you're not interested in single family or you don't think you're interested in single family, you should go to the site to look and learn as much as you can. You can't know too much. Just like in medicine, you cannot know too much.
Absolutely.
Learn, and this is free. There's not a lot of free out there where you're going to get some value. So take this, go learn, understand. And if single family is not even for you, it doesn't matter. Go see, understand, and then go to the next thing that you're thinking about you want to do. You just cannot know too much. I love it so much.
Yep.
This is really good, Brett. What else do you got to
Well,
say? Yep. What didn't we talk about that you wanted to say today?
Well, I have the gift of the gab, and I can just go on for hours and hours and hours. And it's fueled by like the experience and the emotion and like the connection of these things through the years. So just encourage everybody, do what you say, plant that seed of curiosity. If you're listening to this show, then there's curiosity there growing already. It takes that to then grow into wisdom. It takes action. And this is how we do it. We associate with the right people, and then we take action with the right people. So I just encourage everybody to take some action, whether it's going to an REI, just start talking about the things you want to do, because just like Felicia said, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And in order for you to fill all your buckets in life, one of them needs to be that emotional wellness piece, that just pure joy. When I wake up in the morning, I'm smiling, and I'm not waking up in a Learjet yet, but I am happy and I'm smiling. That's a bucket that needs to be filled. It will not be filled constantly trading time for money. If you're not making money while you sleep, you're going to die working to make money. So that's something I want to put out there. Thank you for your time, Felicia. I appreciate the invite here. This is the last thing is to all the listeners. If they haven't gone to Spotify or Apple yet and given you a 5-star review, I want them to first, before they go to physicianwealthsystems.com, is drop that review for Felicia.
Thank you so much. That's really good, because I never ask. And thank you. I appreciate that.
It helps
so much.
It helps so much. Yep.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
You guys, this was really, really good, really exciting. Brett gave me energy today. As we talked before about, I was really tired. I'm ready to keep going on with my day now. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now where you can have a great financial return while positively affecting the lives of others. To learn more about our opportunities, go to moneywithmission.com.